Good afternoon, everybody. Hi, my name is Kim Case, and I am Executive Director of the Research and Development Council of New Jersey and the manager of the New Jersey STEM Pathways Network. And we're very excited to be partnering with one of our ecosystems, the South Jersey STEM and Innovation Partnership, this year to launch the hashtag NJ Together Communities Challenge. So thank you to everybody who's joined today to learn more about this project. And let's just jump into it. So we are going to be recording this. We'll share it out. And we're going to have questions. There is a questions box for those of you who are familiar with GoToWebinar. Please know we will get to all of those questions at the end of the presentation. And there's also a raise hand function via GoToWebinar. And if you have a question, again, we'll get to those at the end of the presentation. So let's go to the next slide. Just for those who are new to the work of the STEM Pathways Network, I just wanted to give a quick overview. It is a public-private alliance. We have the mission of defining and guiding a STEM vision for cradle to career pathways in New Jersey. This is an initiative that came out of the Office of the Secretary of Higher Education and now is currently under the management of the Research and Development Council of New Jersey. And always we are so grateful and thankful to our funder, the Overdeck Family Foundation. The next slide just gives us a quick overview of the South Jersey STEM and Innovation Partnership. This is one of New Jersey's 5 STEM learning ecosystems from across the state, representing Camden, Salem, Cumberland, and soon to be Atlantic counties. We have here a picture of one of our fearless leaders of SJSIP, Pavi, who also is the originator of MindBites. Pavi has really spearheaded this hashtag NJ Together initiative, and she will be on the call to assist in answering questions. The next slide is just a quick reminder for those who know about it and an update to those who don't know about it about New Jersey STEM Month. This is an annual event in March every year in New Jersey. It's a way for us to highlight all of the work that goes on in STEM, whether it's in education or in workforce or and in government. So if you would like to learn more about STEM Month, you can register for our next webinar, which the link is here, and this presentation will be shared out. And you can also go to the STEM Pathways Network website, and there's a robust amount of information there about STEM Month. The only other thing I'll say is we are connecting this challenge to STEM Month in that we will be judging the final projects from the challenges during STEM Month and then announcing the winners. So that will happen in March of 2021. The next slide gets us started into our hashtag NJ Together Communities Challenge. So this is a high school student challenge open to all students here in New Jersey. These students do not have to be all from the same high school. They're welcome to put together their own teams and register them as such. And it's really a way for students to identify and design a solution in response to a challenge their community is facing due to COVID. And then prepare a plan, a communications plan to address the challenge to state policymakers. We have heard a lot from adults during this pandemic, and I don't know that the student voice has really been honored in this challenging time, and we really wanted to put together an opportunity for students to speak about their experiences and the problems they feel that they're facing and provide their solutions. I am a former middle school teacher, and I've been been well aware for quite some time now that students often come up with better solutions than adults do. So I'm quite excited to see what our students will come up with. The connection to the policymakers is really to engage legislators in the state, assemblymen and senators, about this project, to let them know about what we're doing in STEM, to connect them with the student voice, and really to encourage students to understand how policymaking shapes problem solving. And I think that really is part of the goal of this challenge. We do have a wonderful corporate sponsor for this challenge in Siemens. We thank them so much for their support, and we are still seeking additional sponsors. So if anybody on this webinar knows of a company that or an organization that would be interested in supporting, please let us know. Winners of this challenge will receive up to a $2,000 cash prize. And we will have multiple winners. It will not just be one first place winner. We will have multiple winners from across the state. We also are excited that teams will have an opportunity to work with mentors from different industries, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And again, the link on the bottom is the link to information on how to register for the challenge and the timeline for the challenge, so on and so forth. In the next slide, this is highlighting the goals of this project. So it was really the New Jersey STEM Pathways Network working with our ecosystems to develop a project-based learning experience. You know, I think that COVID and the pandemic right now presents a unique opportunity for us to really connect with students on something incredibly important. And if STEM is not something really highlighted now, I don't know when it will be. I really think that this pandemic is this generation's Sputnik. It's really going to be an inspiration for our students to engage in the world of STEM. We really want a technological approach and a systems thinking to solve a social problem, something that is going on in our students' communities. And we're excited that, you know, we want to connect students to mentors from industry and policymakers from across the state. And lastly, we also think that this is an opportunity for students to use the work of the challenge to participate in national or international challenges. The next slide is going to review the process. So we've got our little chart here where we'll start at 1 o'clock. You're going to register your team. All students need to register. We want information for every student who is on the team, and the way that we can connect those students is through the team name. So we'd like them to register with the same name. Students really will then identify issues in their community that are about because of COVID-19, and then they really have to pick one issue to focus on. Then they will submit this proposal to a state policymaker, and we are going to help the students using a template to really communicate what their proposal is. It's going to include the problem and a potential solution to that problem. We do think it's important for the students to consider data in this process and incorporate that to show impact in their communities. After that, there's going to be a more robust communications plan that we're going to assist students with. We really want them to consider all the stakeholders in this process and how they should connect with them. What are the challenges and what are the opportunities? And that document or deliverable will be something that mentors who will work with us will provide feedback on. So we're excited to see how that process works. And after the students get feedback from the mentors and update their work product, they will present the final plan in March 2021 for STEM month and for judging. So the next slide is our timeline. Some of this is can be fluid, but we wanted to provide some specific guidance. Our registration is already open. It opened on September 25th, and we do have several students and teams that have already registered. Ideally, we are looking for 20 teams to register, about 100 students. We're certainly open to additional students. But right now that's our goal, and we're working with districts across the state to ensure that that happens. Obviously today is our STEMinar Challenge webinar. This is our first one. By October 30th, we'd like the project overview to be ready to be submitted to policymakers. So we're going to work with our teams to support that process. November 5th will be our next STEMinar. That's going to be only for our registered teams and any chaperones in this process. And it's going to go over how the mentoring platform works. It literally is an online platform where students will have a login and be able to use the assets of that platform. December 3rd, we will have another challenge update. This will include a special guest speaker to speak with our teams about the importance of STEM and working in this space. And then we get to January, where our communications plan and our design blueprint should be ready for comment and provided to our mentors. And then feedback should come back by the end of January, January 31st. We will have another check-in with our student teams on February 4th. And then the final product will be presented in March, again, during New Jersey STEM Month. And then we'll have our winners announced. Our next slide. This is just, again, to reiterate the mentoring options for our student teams. Those students who have registered will be invited to be part of this mentoring platform. We are recruiting mentors from industry and higher education. I have numerous companies and organizations represented on the Research and Development Council, and I certainly will be working with those companies to select mentors for this project. And then we'll also provide supplementary resources and materials to support the student work. And we have some of that already available to review on this webinar. The next slide. This is the mentoring platform that we are planning to work with, Startup Tribes. This just gives you an idea of, it's a screenshot of the dashboard. Students will learn about events that are going on around the state and related to STEM. We have a blog option. We're still working on how we can incorporate that, but we certainly think that students can update us on the work in their research and their projects. Obviously the mentoring platform that I mentioned, and there's also a special interest group option where if the students are working in certain spaces, for example, sustainability, energy, wind, those types of options, we can connect the students. So that's just a screenshot of what this platform is. It's a real dashboard that students will be able to interact with mentors on. Again, we will be providing a training on that, so I don't want anyone to be concerned about how students will use it. We'll certainly provide a training. Next slide. So the judging right now, obviously we're going to provide a rubric to the student teams, but things that we are going to consider are authenticity, a very specific targeted problem, certainly well-defined team roles. We want to make sure that all the students are supporting the work and having their voices heard in the process, and the impact to the community. Again, we are looking at the $2,000 prize for our winners, and also to be honored for New Jersey STEM Month. Judges for the challenge will include industry professionals, STEM educators, and policymakers. So we're putting together a nice team for that. Next we have, this is just a quick screenshot of the website to register. So every student must register. We're not doing just team registration. So this is just a quick screenshot of what that looks like. And there's the hyperlink above. And again, we'll be sharing this with all of our all of the people on this webinar, so people see what this actually looks like. This is just a screenshot really of the top of it. The next slide is a code of conduct. Please know that this is, an event that we want people to feel included in. We certainly don't want any issues of harassment or poor behavior. So there is a code of conduct on our website, and the students will have to, students, mentors, any participants will definitely have to adhere to it. And contact information is listed on the bottom of this code of conduct to report any issues. The next slide, this is where our resources come into play. I want to see if Pavi, I think you can unmute yourself if you want to jump in on anything, but this is just for step one, gathering the issues that the communities are facing. Pavi, did you want to mention any of these specific links?
Sure, Kim, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to have you all here. I just want to jump in really quick here to just start some discussions amongst you. For some of you, you might have already had a thought in mind as to what issue you're currently witnessing because of this pandemic. For some, you may not know where to start. So this is just a guiding steps in case if you would like to see, okay, what issues how I can gather the issues, or what issues are people facing because of this pandemic and how to get them addressed. These are some of the resources that we will be sharing with you. This is just a small 4-step process. Always you can ask people who you know in the community about what they think, but then documenting that as a form of a concept map, or even a simple flow chart might help you. So there are some tools that are also specified as part of the resource. Again, I don't want to go in detail, but it's pretty self-explanatory where how you can organize those issues and how you can actually select one issue to go after. So there are steps in that. So first step is actually the gathering. The second step, if you move on to the next slide, please. So here, basically, you are a little bit diving deeper into, let's say you have identified 3 issues, out of which you have to pick one. You're diving in detail for each of these issues to select that one to go after. So you answer some questions like this. It might, it will involve researching some data. And there are also resources where you can look at, because we all know that, everything that's out on the internet is not true. So it also gives you can some specific resources you can use. As always, library has the good resources online as well. But this is the second step where you will actually start to collect some data for it. And then the third step is diving. If you could advance the slide, please. The third step is about much more preparing to dive a little bit more, and kind of predicting if I solve this problem, what will happen? Like, what are the how does it look like, and how many people are going to be impacted by this? If we don't solve this problem, what's going to happen? So answering these questions and a little bit more insightful, gathering more insightful information will help you to choose, okay, clearly there's one issue that we definitely need to go after. And the step 4 is also adding some additional questions on it, where it's always good to have these questions at back of your mind when you're looking at the data, as well as researching some information, because how this is going to help you is when you're writing your proposal, you will actually say why your team actually picked this issue. The data validates your reason going after this issue. So that's the process that we have laid out here, which will help you to streamline your thoughts for writing your proposal. And at the bottom, there will be a lot of websites and research databases that we have provided. As Kim was mentioning about the mentoring platform, one of the other features there is also the resources. So we will be constantly adding resources, because this particular challenge is not just on the output, it's also it's mainly on the process. How well we are able to do, taking it from the start, where the level 0 to all the way to the end. So there are some process that will be introduced to you. The seminars that here on will be invitation only for the students who are participating in this challenge, because there is a special segment that we will be introducing to you in every seminar. So one of them might be on design thinking, one of them might be on how you translate the data into presentation. So we have some exciting topics that we have identified, and we will provide you with all the details as we go forward. So, but important step is register. That's the important thing. If you go on to the next slide. Kim, do you want me to Do you want to continue?
I could jump back in. Thank you, Pavi. So these are just some save the dates that we mentioned on the timeline. So if people were ready to kind of mark their calendars, just for our Steminar, our updates and our platform training. So we just wanted to provide those. We also can be flexible on the timing. 4 o'clock seemed like a good option for both students and teachers who wanted to support any student work. So we did provide that time as the option, but as we move forward, if we get different feedback, we can certainly be flexible. The next slide is the end of our presentation. It provides, again, the link to register, a link to the NJ STEM Pathways website if you want to learn more information about our work. And then we wanted to open it up for questions. So I did want to see if anybody wanted to raise their hand. I know we have some questions in the chat box, but we wanted to see if any other attendees had any questions, and you certainly could raise your hand using the function on the dashboard for GoToWebinar, and we're happy to answer any of those questions. So I want to give it a minute, and then I also can jump in and answer some of the questions that Gunjan Amit had put in here. So first, Gunjan, you had asked, is the solution has to be based on coding or it can be prototype or framework? And Pavi, you really are a resident expert on this. So if you can jump in, my response to that is yes, it can be a prototype, framework, or coding. It really is open-ended based on the community's problem. And then the other question, and you know, I don't want to call people out, but I do have the power to see everybody's name who is on this webinar, and I see Rob Boyagiev from Siemens is on. So Rob, I could also unmute you if you wanted to respond to anything. But one of the questions, and Pavi, please jump in, is what are some community problems that we're thinking of? So let me open it up to Rob if he might have something else to say, but also with this question. Let's see. Rob, it looks like you can be unmuted, but I don't know that I see your audio. There you go.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Rob Boyagiev. Hi, everyone. Did you want me to respond to the question, Kim, or just kind of give it a little bit of an introduction? Which is first?
Yeah, why don't you go with the introduction and then we could get to the question.
Okay, so we're thrilled. Obviously, you know, this is something we call business to society. It's so much in line with the values, what we see, technology for social good, right? So when we talk about business to society and why this is important, it's very much a stakeholder approach, and that's really a key theme that Kim and Pavi have developed the framework for this competition. And ultimately, these projects, they will be good ideas. What we're trying to do as an industry, and not just Siemens, but the industry as a whole, is to help support these ideas to ultimately to implementation, right? We want to get ideas are great, but we want to be able to execute on the ideas. And that's where creative models like public-private partnership and putting some private investment behind these ideas will help get these ideas into maybe a planning and implementation stage. So that's number one. I think everything that's going on in government and public service, I think technology is going to be very critical for how communities, you know, respond to pandemics. This won't be the last pandemic by any stretch, and we saw the importance of public service and which communities responded really well and which ones didn't. So that's kind of where we want to take this, and hopefully the students that are designing today are working for Siemens or some technology company down the road, and we view this as a great recruitment tool. We see the kids that are motivated, we see what their ideas, how well prepared they are, and we ultimately recruit them. So that's how it kind of becomes a sustainable system. So I'll leave it at that. I know that's a little bit of probably more than I had time for, but I'll leave it at that.
Nope, that is great. Thank you so much, Rob. Let's see, do we have, let me unmute Gunjan and see if there are other questions. Okay, you're unmuted. Gunjan, am I saying your name right? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, hi. So definitely my questions were around the community problem, which I will expect that you will be sharing some spreadsheet, right?
A spreadsheet in terms of like what we're defining as a community problem to give more guidance on that.
Correct.
Yes. But Pavi, let me know what you think, but I don't think we really, I think we can give some ideas about like what space the problems could be in, for example, transportation, food security. But I don't think we really want to provide too many specifics because we really want the kids to, identify things for themselves.
That is correct, Kim. We are not specifying a specific challenge. Rather, we want the students to actually identify what's happening in their community. As Kim was saying, the solution could be anything. It could be a framework, it could be an urban planning document, or it could be an app development, it could be a website design, it could be anything to solve, or a new invention altogether. But it's what's right for your community. What are you seeing because of this pandemic as a problem in your community? So there are so many examples that we can share. If there are any, if you want an example, absolutely, we can definitely do that. But we are not specifying any particular problem because that may not be there in your community. So we definitely want the students to go through that process. And that's why if you don't know where to start, that particular document, the resource that I was speaking about in the earlier slides will help you to guide that process.
Okay. And can a high school student be a mentor, or is it only the industry people you are looking right now for the mentorship and as a volunteer?
The mentors are basically today will be the industry people and the policy makers because there are specific asks from them.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to read out. So Mariel had asked really is what is the scope of the solution you are expecting? And I really do think that's going to depend on the community. So we are looking at part of the rubric is really grading the impact to your community. So I think that's really going to just depend on what the community is. Like one thing that I could think of is, for example, in my town and probably sure a lot of other towns, the senior centers are all closed because of the risk to that population because of COVID. And maybe one of the senior services is, a grocery shopping service. Like how can we support that now that we know that it's really a challenge? Maybe that is an app. Maybe it's a communications campaign to the neighborhood around getting people to volunteer and then someone coordinating that. I mean, I'm just kind of just thinking things, out loud, but I really do think it's going to be super community based. Pavi, I don't know if you have another example because it really is that you got a couple of questions here
yeah.
asking for examples.
Sure, absolutely. I can share one more example. The food drive was a specific example. There were a lot of food drive happening across this place, and a particular community down south did not have an access. Their website was broken, so they didn't have a proper channel where they could get the information. So it all required was just a process fix. So then they were able to access the information, and it was perfectly fine. Another one is, I don't want to give the solution also here, but I'll just stop with the problem. There are a lot of people who were, in a particular community, they found that especially with the special needs children, they were having, the issues with learning, and how a community came together to help them was very phenomenal. So some of these problems were existent, and people have come together to solve that, and that was a real reason why we put this challenge together, because definitely it will help if everybody can think at this level.
Okay, I'm looking. I don't think we have any other questions at this time. Rob, you still have a hand up. I don't know if you wanted to jump in or I just need to lower your hand. I'm going to lower your hand. Okay. Oh, I think you lowered, I'm going to lower your hand. If you don't put it back up, then I'm going to think that you're not trying to jump back in. Okay, I don't think anybody has any more questions. All right, we definitely wanted to keep this to about 30 minutes, so we hope that everybody had a good overview of what this program is. Please continue to visit the SJSIP website to review updates, encourage students to register. We think this is going to be really a phenomenal process for them, and we're so excited to support them in this, and really connecting them with policymakers and really celebrating the student voice in this process. I think is going to be very exciting for all of us. So thank you to everybody, and we look forward to connecting with you in the future. You have Shirley's email on this if you want to contact her about any questions. And then you can also, I don't have my email on this, but if people have any other questions outside of that, I am at kcase@rdnj.org. So KCASE@rdnj.org. And you always can contact me through Shirley as well. So we certainly will share this presentation out, and we look forward to the STEM challenge. Thank you, everybody. Bye.